Yellow has 1.57 million business listings across Australia.
Yellow.
With 800,000 connections a week.
Yellow.
That's 115,000 business connections every day.
Yellow.
Need it? Yellow has it. Find, choose, connect at yellowpages.com.au.
Well, hi everybody and welcome to this special Yellow Live webinar. My name's Christian Lydiard and joining me today is Michael Watkins, who heads capability here at Yellow. How are you, Michael?
I am happy it's Friday, Christian.
Absolutely. It's always good on a Friday. And of course, welcome to our customers joining us from all over Australia. We have our sales team meeting with customers and our telephone sales team has also invited people. So if you're joining in your business today, we really thank you for taking the time out. This is all about helping you identify opportunities for growth for your business. And of course, we are streaming live from our Melbourne Yellow head office, which means that there is an opportunity for you to actually ask questions throughout the presentation today. So if you're on YouTube, you'll notice there's the chat feed, and feel free to type away and ask your questions. And we've got some members of our capability team who are going to help respond to those as we go. And if we get some juicy ones, we might have some time at the end, Michael, to get into that as well.
Of course.
So Michael, a part of your role here at Yellow is to help our teams understand capability and really what's going on in the digital world today.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest opportunities we have as we do more digital marketing is looking at how we can expand our services to really help small businesses capture all the different types of leads through different forms.
Yeah, I guess this is one of the biggest challenges for small businesses today, is understanding where to start and stop. There are so many options. One of the ways we like to explain this is really looking at the buying funnel or the sales process. This is a model that's been around.
How do I get people to choose me more often?
Yes.
And then how do I get more transactions?
Okay. And ultimately, one of the benefits of modern marketing is we're able to actually tailor certain products for certain stages of the buying funnel. They've got different reasons, and I guess they help customers connect with the right audience.
Yeah, back in the day, there used to only be a few choices, and now as Facebook and Amazon and Google and Microsoft continue to evolve their service offerings as well, we're just getting more options to create opportunities for businesses today.
Okay, so I want to take a look at the Yellow marketing stack. So Yellow's been around for a very long process that we just discussed.
Yeah, look, and there's a lot on the screen here, but if you look at the top is where the funnel is. And so where digital display really does really well is around growing more opportunity for awareness and helping to push more people through to that consideration phase. And really what that means is, how do we get people to see businesses more often and think about what they can do with those businesses so that we then get more transactions at the end of the day, which is what you're looking at on screen.
Okay, so it's quite complicated, but it gives the small business owner the sense that there is an opportunity to target customers at the right time with the right product mix. And it's not about doing everything, it's about narrowing down, right?
Yeah, I'd like to say that the process went straight down the line like that, but in reality it's very much a wave pool. So what this is about is really making sure we don't miss opportunities for businesses, because if a business doesn't cover those gaps, one of their competitors will pick up the opportunity.
So let's talk about the modern consumer. And they're on a bit of a digital journey, right? So we know that lots of people will start on things like a smartphone. Talk us through this process and ultimately how a small business owner can maximise sales revenue.
Yeah, well, I think this is a bit of a simplified way of looking at it. So if you think as a business owner, back to those desired outcomes, how do I get people to see me more often? How do I get people to think to choose me more often? Then get them to do that action. The care part is really post-transaction, but there's an opportunity to have your customers create movement in other potential customers as well, and we see a lot of that with referrals, and we see a lot of that with reputation management as well. But the biggest part of the funnel is the C part, and if you're not continually opening up that funnel and getting large volumes of people seeing your business, you'll never have a chance to convert through to the think and do stage.
Okay, so Michael, one of the things that we really want to get down to is digital display advertising, and how can a small business today take advantage of this? Now, if we think about digital advertising, or in fact, advertising in general in Australia, there's about maybe, let's say, $8.5 billion spent on digital. About a third of that is actually spent on digital banner advertising and display advertising, but it's been sort of out of reach in the past for a small business owner.
Yep.
So now there are services and options for small businesses to take advantage of this, right?
Yeah, and the reason why it was out of reach for many small businesses is in the past, you used to have such a big budget to get cut through that that's what put it out of reach, was the budget. And with emerging technology and some of the automation and AI processes that we put in place, it really means that we can be effective with small budgets, which is key to small businesses and the opportunity that we're talking about. But as for digital marketing and why that part is growing so much, it really comes down to there's more control and there's more technology, and people are spending more time online now.
Yeah. Let's put the screen overlay back up. So in its very simplest form, display advertising gives you an opportunity for your business to be represented on websites all over the net.
That's right. So if you think of a billboard, but you're putting that billboard, instead of on the street, you're putting that billboard on the screen in front of someone who's engaged with the content. That's what display advertising is. So it allows you to always be there in front of the eyeballs when they're consuming good quality content, and we'll probably talk to a little bit more about that later on.
Yeah. So when we're talking about an ad, I guess, being displayed on a website, what types of websites will that appear on?
The types of websites that get the best results, and the ones that we focus are the types of websites where people are going to spend a long time absorbing the content. So things like news sites, things like Better Homes and Gardens is a great example, sports sites. When people go to particular sites for a purpose and they want to absorb that content, that's the ideal site. And what we do with our network is we only choose those types of sites. We have a process which means that rather than just opening up to all the potential websites in the world, which includes all of the dodgy ones, we handpick and whitelist certain sites that we know are going to have a good engagement rate.
Okay. So digital display advertising basically comes in different sizes, and they're modular ads that can appear on different websites based on location, interests, all sorts of things. Let's put another overlay over the screen. So here is an example of the different types of ads, and you mentioned some of those really popular websites. So, you know, I'm here in Melbourne, we're a little bit sports crazy, so sites like AFL.com, my business could have an ad actually appear on that page when people are looking, right?
Absolutely. And it's really interesting if you think of, I talked earlier about that consumer process, the buying process, and we all know ourselves, we'll start looking for something and then we'll get caught up and we'll stop. So we might go home and then check out a news site, or we might go home and check out an AFL site. And it might be the fact that the business that we were searching for in the morning is the business we see in the evening, and that's what makes us connect. So it can be a very powerful tool to help keep your business in front of your potential customers. The different sizes are quite simple. The different sizes are because there's different layouts, and more importantly, there's different screen sizes. So we have ads that appear on desktop, but we also have ad shapes that are perfectly designed to appear on mobile phones as well. And that's a really important thing because there's a lot of mobile usage that you can take advantage of as well.
All right, so we've got a few other examples here that we might put on the screen. Now, when we talk about digital display advertising, or banner ads is another name for it, we're also talking about how it crosses over into social today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it sort of comes back to it's where the eyeballs are. So it includes social, it includes apps as well. So you can see an example of the mobile version of the ad on screen at the moment. It's got to be small because you can't have it take up the real estate on the screen, but it's pretty obvious that that's the business and that's the way to contact them that's appearing there. Another one that I want to point out is the social one. And what you can see on screen at the moment is with the social element and the carousel, it gives you the ability to put a little bit more content on because we know that people will respond to different images and different needs. So here's an example where you can't see it on screen, but that swipes through. And so there's a few different options for businesses to talk about what makes them better and a few different call to actions that can appear on that social feed.
Yeah, and that can be different services, right? So let's imagine, here is an example of Autobarn. They may have different services, right? So there may be services, there might be tyre changing, you know, things like that, right? They can have different services being listed.
Absolutely.
We've also got some examples here of some common website ones. So these are the ones that appear on news sites and weather sites or other popular interest websites?
You generally see the leaderboards appear across the top of the page, and the skyscrapers are a really powerful one which goes down the side of the page. That's important more now than it was in the past because people will scroll down, and especially if it's a site that has really good content on it, they're going to be spending a lot of time there. So you want to have a pretty powerful presence on the side of the page to get that attention.
And we touched on social before, but there are different examples, and we're not just talking about Facebook, which we know is a very dominant player when it comes to social in Australia, but Instagram is a platform that's emerging very quickly with significant growth. So digital display can carry across all different platforms.
Yeah, and one of the often unknown myths, and which is actually a reality, is that Instagram's owned by Facebook. So of course they're going to leverage that network. It's a really good network for those businesses that have more visual service offerings or need to visualize more. So we know that the imagery is really important on Instagram. Facebook, it's got a huge amount of mainstream usage. So Facebook today is really what mainstream TV was a decade ago.
Yeah, so media consumption is a really great way of thinking about it.
Absolutely. Be in front of where the eyeballs are, and people spend a lot of time every week on Facebook. It's a period of time too where they're there for a purpose. They're there for their friends, their family, their interests. It's a great time for them to, in a relaxing environment, be re-exposed or exposed for the first time of your business.
Yeah, I talk about that anyway, right? So when it comes to digital display, one of the very cool features of it is the ability to target and retarget and use cookies to draw people back, Michael. So can you explain to us some of the advantages of this technology and how does that work?
Yeah, so what a cookie is, and it can be very complex, so I'll try and keep this really simple, but basically if you're visiting a website, it knows by dropping a cookie that you've been there, the device has been there. So what that means is that if, as I said before, you're interrupted in your day and you stop searching, maybe the kids start screaming or the boss taps you on the shoulder and needs you to do something, what that cookie by being on the device means that if you then go home or re-engage that search or go to a different place, it can then join the two together and have your ad show again. So a great user example of that would be someone might do a search on your own website and not call you, but you drop the cookie on so that they then see it in your social media page later on in the day. Or alternatively, it could be a random site. So maybe they've gone to Better Homes and Gardens, as I was saying earlier as well, and they see your ad there as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people have probably noticed this before but not quite understood the technology, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. I've been recently on a bit of a diet, Michael, and it's interesting just how many of these sites can then use that information to retarget you and reappear within my social feed. So, a website I looked at yesterday, today can be presenting an offer to me within my social channels, and there it is as I'm scrolling down through, an ad for the business that I saw yesterday.
Yeah, and the technology allows targeting by location. It starts to learn targeting by age. So there's a lot of cool things here that happen that just help the ad become more accurate. And by being more accurate, it's becoming more relevant. And so then it's a good user experience for not just the advertiser that wants to get the prospect, but also the consumer who's getting ads that are actually targeted to things that they're looking for or have shown interest in.
Yeah, great. Now, whilst we blacked out and we didn't go to our video, Damien's actually joined us. Damien Salton, welcome. How are you?
Very well, gentlemen. Afternoon, everybody.
And Damien is one of our strategic coaches within the business and supports a lot of our sales folk and our service teams across the country. And I've asked Damien to come and talk to us about a real example. So, Damien, I'll throw some stuff up on the screen, and if you can talk through it for us. What does this mean for a business? So tell us who the business is, what are they trying to achieve, and what's happening for them in this space today?
Certainly, thanks, Christian. So the business here that you can see is Brisbane Garage Door Centre. For this business, it was really important, as you mentioned before, that they're out in front of as many eyeballs as possible. So it was about brand reach, which all comes down to what's their name and what do they do.
Yes.
This business has been utilising digital display advertising for almost 6 months. And as you can see on the screen, Census has put their business advertisements in front of almost 500,000 people on these sites and apps that you've been talking about today. So
we're looking at a live dashboard here.
We
right?
are,
So this is live performance reporting. Michael, if we had to try to reach 500,000 people previously with traditional forms of advertising, what would that have cost us? Just a rough ballpark.
Thanks for that. It depends on what you're doing. So it would have cost you a lot of money if you were to pay for a flyer to be produced and then delivered, and you're talking minimum 10 cents a unit, 17 cents a unit for every delivery there. It would have cost you a bombshell $400 a spot minimum, depending on if you're regional or metro on TV, is another way you could have done it. But one of the things with those two methods too is that it's really hard to know if it's working.
Yeah.
And that's one of the other big things about displays. You get to be able to measure so much more.
Yeah.
And the cost efficiency, that's $500,000. That is
impressions,
really,
right?
really
So
good value.
right. 500,000 times it's appeared on a screen.
Correct.
For consumers to potentially see that message.
Correct. And the consumer's also able to take action in that moment. So
Yep.
we talk about display advertising being similar to a billboard. Imagine if you could reach up and touch that billboard in your car and go and buy that product instantly or make that phone call right there and then.
Okay.
So it gives a level of interactivity that you simply can't achieve
Yeah.
through traditional awareness advertising.
That's a good point. I often sometimes drive past good billboards and I'm like, fantastic, but then how do I remember whatever it was that I saw or,
That's true, right?
or connect
Let's
again?
dig a little deeper into the dashboard.
Certainly. So Michael also raised television as a potential opportunity or something which was quite similar. The comparison with television is true, but it doesn't give you the same level of targeting which display advertising also gives you. So as you can see on the screen here, this advertiser is able to target down and track where their ads are getting seen down to a suburb location, meaning they're not in front of eyeballs that don't matter to them.
Yeah, so no wastage, right? We can
Correct.
be very specific. If they know that their target audience lives in a certain suburb
That's right.
or a cluster of suburbs, you can target just those people.
Correct. We can even track what sites are most popular for both impressions, so how many times their ads are seen, and actions, so how many times their ads are clicked on or somebody makes a phone call or vice versa. And as you can see here, this particular advertiser sells garage doors.
Yes.
So for them, mobile properties have been really popular, but also social channels like Facebook and sites like realestate.com.au.
Okay. Damien, can we take a look at their ads? Let's bring that up on the
Can.
screen if we could.
Oh, can we? What is the modern technology here?
All right.
There we go.
Whilst
Here we go,
that's-
sliding.
We got there.
It's going to load now, right? So this gives us a sense of the type of advertising that they're running, and it's important for a small business to think about their call to action.
That's correct. So this particular advertiser is utilising a cashback offer in front of a mass market audience
Yes.
to ensure that they're getting the most engagement they possibly can. And for this customer, they're actually getting engagement at 4 times the standard Australian interaction levels for display advertising.
Okay.
And this is pretty similar to most of the campaigns that Yellow runs. We average about 3.5 times more than the average interaction level across display advertising in Australia.
All right. So big numbers there, Damien, but how do we know that?
So we track everything that we do. Google utilise tracking across all of their advertising properties, and they've set the standard for the most recent data available at a click-through rate, or the amount of people who see your ad and then take an action on it, at
Yes.
about 0.1%. It might seem pretty low, but when you're talking about over 500,000 sets of eyeballs, that amounts to quite a large amount of customers. This particular advertiser is at over 0.4%. So over 4 times the benchmark for the industry in Australia.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And of course, thank you to that advertiser that allowed us to share that information so that you could see a real example of this sort of campaign and performance coming to life. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits, Michael. So I guess display is about being fast, right? The ability to set up these sorts of campaigns is almost instantly, right? We can get a message out to market to a mass audience.
Yeah, and you would have noticed there were a couple of animations that happened when Damien displayed that ad. And we have a system that really quickly takes the most important parts of your business conversation, your logo, your headline, your call to actions, and automatically puts it into those different shapes. So you don't have to worry about building individual ones every single time for every type that you need to run a campaign like that.
Yeah. And in terms of being local, I think Damien's touched on that, right? But but just how specific can we get?
Yep.
And can people go really broad if they want to?
You could cover the whole country, but as most small businesses have specific markets where they're successful, you can go down to that postcode level. It's really, really important because that's the way people search. And so that's something that gives it a unique advantage over things like TV where you're limited to the broadcast network.
Okay. What about the value that this can bring for an advertiser compared to other channels and other mediums?
Yeah, I think this one's an important one to say, you know what, it is a really effective way to add a large volume of awareness. It is the best thing in market for a small business to do. But it should always be done in conjunction with other channels, right? So you'll find that your radio, your TV, your billboard will perform better by having display.
Yeah.
But to Damien's point, it's the display that allows the journey to continue, the conversation to get to purchase. It's a display that allows them to get to your website and act as well.
Now, you mentioned that it's one of the best things a small business owner can
Yep.
do. And that's when you're talking specifically about creating awareness, right? Just want to clarify that so that we're...
Absolutely. This is about the top end of the funnel, and it's one of the best ways you can add that volume at the top end of the funnel, providing that you have things along the way to help turn it into conversions. You have to have a good mobile website. You have to have a good search presence as well, because people will come back in different formats.
Yeah.
But this is a big gap for a lot of businesses, and that comes back to what we were talking about earlier, that it was unachievable for small businesses because of budget in the past.
Okay. So, Michael, we're going to try that video again. I believe that's working. So let's learn a little bit more about cookies before we wrap it up for everybody today.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Greg. I work with the digital capability team here at Census. Part of my role is to work with our frontline account management teams to ensure that the advice you get from Census is always up to date with the latest trends and aligned to meet the needs of your business. Today though, I'd like to share with you one of my favourite features of yellow display ads, retargeting. I'm sure most of you would have experienced retargeting even if you weren't sure what it was called before. Have you ever visited a company's website and then had ads from the same company follow you around as you surf other sites and even browse your local feeds? Well, that's retargeting. Let me show you how it works. When you visit a company's website, like Census in this case, if that company has yellow display, then it places a small piece of code on your computer or phone so that it remembers you were there. We call that a cookie. When you're then called away from your computer or phone because the kids are making a mess or someone's at the door, you may forget about the fact you were checking out Census, but luckily the cookie ensures that Census won't forget about you. After you've cleaned up the mess or your visitor leaves, and at some point you jump back on the computer or phone to surf around, other sites recognise the cookie and tell it to remind you that you're interested in Census by showing you ads that drive you back to the Census website. This could happen on Better Homes and Gardens, news.com, or even Facebook. In fact, it could happen on hundreds of hand-put websites right across Australia. The end result is the consumer is reminded to head back to Census and complete their research, or even better, complete their sale.
Well, I think that was definitely worth showing, Michael, because it does give people a sense of how this technology really simply can help a small business reconnect and draw people back to them.
Yeah, it's pretty cool tech. It is.
So, Michael, why would people choose to do business around digital display with yellow?
Yeah.
What can yellow bring to the table?
The first thing is around being able to target the customers that you want to give exposure to your business to. Another one is by doing that, you're helping getting more people who are going to click through to your website or respond to your shop front, and it really helps drive that conversion in the long run. But the biggest thing about our product is around the system and the tech behind it. So our consultants can guide you through the process and quite easily work with you to build a really compelling and direct ad, which will then, using the tool, be able to be seen before it even goes live, which is really, really cool. Once it goes live, a big point of difference is around where does it go live. And we talked about websites that drive engagement. There's a lot in the internet. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of rubbish out there as well. So our approach to whitelisting is really, really important. It just means that we're going to only show you web ads on sites that have traffic and content where people will engage.
Yeah, and trustworthy, right? That's important, that they're going to appear on a site that is considered trustworthy and perhaps not so, nasty.
Yeah,
Might be on a nasty side.
It's a huge part of it, the whole positioning of your brand, and it also is another way to make sure there's no wastage.
Yeah. Well, I'd really like to thank you all for joining us today to learn a little bit about how digital display advertising can help your business grow. Our YouTube feed's there for anybody that would like to ask any further questions, and we really encourage you to do that. For those of you joining in your own business today and you're perhaps not with one of our team members out in the field, feel free to give us a ring and we can help you out. So call us on 132 489 and the sales team here in Melbourne is happy to help you out and support you. I know that many of you are sitting there right now with one of our consultants who's actually already built an ad, ready to show you what digital display advertising can look like for your business. Any final remarks, Damien?
No, I think it's a great point you make there, Christian. If you are out there in your own business, one of our consultants here in Melbourne can build you an ad in a matter of seconds. You can see what your ads are going to look like before they go live, and you know that they're going to then engage with the right audience to make sure it drives you a result.
Yeah, great. And Michael, from yourself?
Have a play with it. It's a really cool platform, and it's a good opportunity to fill that awareness end of the funnel.
Fantastic. Now, as a special offer today, it wouldn't be a Friday if we didn't have a bonus in it for our customers as well. So if you take advantage of these services today, our team will help you with a special offer. So make sure you ask them about what that is, and I'll let them discuss it with you in person. But thank you for joining us for this very special Yellow Live presentation from our head office in Melbourne. We'll see you again next time. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.